Welcome to the Sacred Heart Share-A-Thon on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Today, we are live on the air from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., asking for your financial support and sharing the great work of various ministries, authors, speakers, clergy, and local radio hosts that impact our local Charlotte community. Carolina Catholic Media Network is 100% listener supported, and we need your financial support to continue broadcasting the truth of Jesus Christ. Call 1-800-857-2909. That's 1-800-857-2909 to make your tax-deductible pledge. Operators are standing by right now to take your call, or you can donate online at carolinacatholicmedia.org. Thank you for your loyal listenership. We hope you enjoy this special Sacred Heart Share-A-Thon program. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special Sacred Heart Share-A-Thon hour. My name is Bill Snyder. It's wonderful to be with you. I want to remind you that you can call in and donate right now. Donate to the Carolina Catholic Media Network and keep a wonderful local programming on the air. 1-800-857-2909. Again, 1-800-857-2909 is the number that you can call to keep wonderful programs, local programs on the air, like we're going to be featuring right now. We have the host of Healed and Restored with us, Elza Spaedy, and a wonderful guest for you. I'm going to let her do the introductions and take it away. So here is Elza and Healed and Restored.
Thank you, Bill. And yes, I am Elza Spaedy. I'm your host for Healed and Restored here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. And we're actually in the middle of our summer Share-A-Thon. So please, if you haven't yet, call in and donate. The number is 1-800-857-2909. Again, that number is 1-800-857-2909. And I actually have a nice giveaway for those first 5 callers that will graciously donate right now during my show. I will give you a copy of my first book, Freedom Through Christ, and I would also write your name down on the list of those people who will be getting a free copy of my new upcoming book that's going to be released the end of July, beginning of August, and that is Healed and Restored, a journey through trauma, resilience, and transformative healing. So if you call now, and if you're one of those 5 first callers to donate to our Share-A-Thon, you would get a copy of each one of those books. Okay. I'm so excited to be here today and to be interviewing the person I'm going to be interviewing today, because I always feel that one of the reasons why the Lord called me to do this podcast, to do what I'm doing, is because there's a need for people like us, for people like my guest today, myself, who have been through some terrible trauma, to come out and speak the truth. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what has happened to us. God wants to heal each one of his broken children. And I always get super excited when I'm talking to a survivor. Shannon is one of those people, and I know I've read with some of the stuff that she's been doing, and she's doing amazing stuff. And obviously, we believe and we know that it's the Lord who's doing all that stuff in her and through her. But we also have to remember that it's important that she said yes to the Lord, that she said, do with me as you will, Lord. So I'm super excited. Please help me welcome Shannon McGraw to the podcast today. And she is the founder of Hopeful Hearts Ministry. Welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Elza. I'm always happy to be able to be here, talk to others, share my story, but most importantly, hopefully share so that others can feel they're known right to be healed and loved and cared for.
That's right. That's right. Amen to that. And I think the biggest misunderstanding is that if these things remain in the dark, eventually they just go away. But you and I know that they don't. They don't go away. They need attention, and they need a special attention. And that special attention is from Jesus Christ, right? Because he is the only true physician that can get rid of those deep, deep wounds within our hearts, within our souls, caused by all types of abuse. So, Shannon, thank you for being here. Can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, of course. I am the founder of Hopeful Hearts Ministry. We aid in the long-term recovery of survivors of abuse. We work with both adult women and men who have been mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally, spiritually abused in their past. And I am a survivor myself of incest by my grandfather at a very young age.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And then rape in high school, rape in college, and then an abusive first marriage. And so when you ask, describe yourself or who you are, all of that doesn't define me, but I will say this just to begin is that I am so grateful for every aspect of my life. Because as you said in the very beginning, God allowed me the opportunity to say yes to him. And I know that everything that I have been brought through by his grace, by his mercy, has allowed me to be the person I am today and to accomplish the things that I've accomplished and to be able to be that voice to help others bring what they've been out of the darkness and into the light and to find that healing. But I'm also a mother of two wonderful boys and a bonus mother of 3 other children that are all in high school, 5 kids.
Oh, wow.
And, 2 dogs, if everybody heard us by accident on our little call there.
Sorry about that.
We all have to be human, right? So little puppies. And I'm also, along with the nonprofit, after COVID, I had to do some things to keep the nonprofit going. So I'm the I am the publisher of 3 Catholic magazines in my area, but I work for a company called Decided Excellence Catholic Media as well. So I do quite a few different hats there going.
Wonderful. And tell us where you're calling us from again.
I'm calling from Kingwood, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, Texas.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Wow. I love everything you said. And I always like to say that I'm at a point of my life, and I think you could probably relate, where you are thankful for your scars. Right? I mean, when you get to the other side of your trauma, by the grace of God, you can look back and be thankful for everything that you've gone through, because it's those things that got you where you are. Your close relationship with God. I always say, if it wasn't for what I went through as an 8-year-old, I don't know if my faith will be where it is today. So for that reason alone, I am thankful for my scars, because if I had a perfect childhood and nothing terrible had happened to me, maybe I wouldn't feel the need to get close to God. And what a shame, right? What a waste of time, what a waste of a life that would have been. So yes, I am thankful for my scars, and I have a feeling you are too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. I mean, like I said, it's who created who I am today. And when I do work with survivors, we do one-on-one peer support, and I can go through all that in a little bit. But when I work with them, or when I speak to a group or speak at different conferences, and then I end up working with people who've never really talked about the abuse that they've been through, they always say, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you can share this to so many, or I don't know, just like with you, with your books, and, how can you talk about it? And God has given each of us a grace, and I believe he's given me that grace so that I could help others to share their story, but not everybody has to share it to the world, right? But it is so important to have it come out and to talk about it, and to be able to get the proper therapy and everything that's needed. But I'm so grateful for all of my scars so that I can have the voice. And it is just kind of who God created me to be, right? I mean, God has made us each with these gifts and these talents. And
Mhm.
I had always was interested in drama and interested in just kind of being out there. And what better way than to do it in this aspect of being able to minister to others and to heal and to be a part of what he is longing for each person on
It's
their healing journey.
amazing. It's amazing. And thank you for saying yes, because it takes a lot of us, right? I mean, it's a big country, it's a big world. Our stories can be similar, but different. Your story will touch someone else different than my story will touch that person. So it's so important that we, the ones that God calls to speak up about this stuff, because I know not every survivor, not every victim will become a survivor and will feel called to share. I know that it's not something that everyone wants to do, and it's okay. It's okay. I completely respect that, but I feel that if the Lord has inspired us, you and I, to do this work, what a privilege it is to be out there, to put ourselves out there. I don't know about you, but I have found that since I gave my testimony about 5 years ago in my church, St. Mark's Catholic Church in Huntersville, North Carolina. It was Pentecost Sunday. I will never forget. There was about 1,000 people there, I think, that night. And I didn't think I was going to survive the talk. I just, how could you do this? How can I go in front of all these people and talk about this stuff? And these are people that I'm going to see every day. This is my home parish. But by the grace of God, and I know that was all part of his plan. He needed me to get that out. He needed me to do that. That was one more step that he wanted me to take so I could become, just like you, a healer, a wounded healer, because that's what I truly believe God wants us to become for one another. Life is not easy, and God didn't promise that it was going to be easy. He just promised that he would be there with us, right? So now I feel like for us, our job is to know that the worst part of suffering sometimes is not the suffering itself, but it's suffering alone. So if you and I are called to make someone else feel like they're not alone in their shame, in their pain, because we've gone through this very similar things that they have gone through, then what a blessing it is to be used that way. Don't you agree, Shannon?
Yes. I mean, I know that for me, it's still after, 20 plus years
Wow.
of having gone through this process of healing. I mean, I still get encouraged. I've listened to some of your podcasts and listened, it's always good to hear other people's victories and coming out of not just being a victim and surviving, but thriving and allowing everyone to know that there is that possibility. I mean, I remember the moments of definitely being a survivor and working through it, but still feeling this sense of dread or having these certain things that are still dragging me down that I couldn't seem to get through. And I would just pray to God, please, take this thorn from my side, or, please take this one thing that I can't seem to heal from. And then, listening to somebody else and listening to how, what it was, or, what was it that the Lord did through them or for them. And then feeling this renewed sense of, gosh, I'm forgetting how much the Lord can do. I'm forgetting that, it's putting my trust in him and his will, and finding that sometimes it has to be me that moves it. And it does need to be us that moves and to do the work, to be healed and to thrive. And so it's just so important for all of us, in whatever capacity that the Lord calls us to share and to share our stories, because you just don't know who you're helping in the process and what aspect of healing that they're coming through because of just something that you shared.
I agree. I think that stories have this immense power to really bring us together in a way that nothing else can. You know, when you hear someone else's testimony, when you hear their story, when you hear what they came from and what God has done in their lives, I don't care where you are in your journey, it's going to give you a boost. It's going to give you a hope. It's going to inspire you. If God did it for this person, maybe he can do it for me. And the thing is that it's not maybe, he can and he will. We just have to step out. We just have to bring everything to the foot of the cross. I always say that in my own personal experience, I think for a very long time, I didn't bring the abuse to the foot of the cross. Mm-hmm. I was hanging on to it. I thought I could handle this. And no one can. And God didn't make us to handle these big crosses on our own. Even Jesus Christ had help carrying his own cross that he was going to be brutally murdered on. So what makes us think that we have what it takes to do it alone? So I think the biggest thing, the organization I created 2 years ago, Healed and Restored, it's very much like yours, but it's on its infancy now, and God willing, the goal is to have a home where the women, we're going to concentrate on healing the women, and the woman can come and find healing, body, mind, and spirit, all under one roof. And this will be in the Charlotte area. And we're very excited for that goal. But for now, the way we're helping women is when they come to us for help, we are putting them together with these amazing mental health professionals in our area who have graciously said, yes, they're going to help heal and restore. They're going to give us 50% off of their fees. So Heal and Restore is paying for the women's counseling sessions, because as my own experience, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it's very expensive to find healing, the proper healing that you need. And it was in my 20s when I was living in Boston, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. And I realized that I really should go see someone. And a friend of mine, recommended I go see someone she was actually seeing at the time. And I did. I made the appointment, went to see this really nice lady in her 40s. But I quickly realized that I couldn't afford her fees. And here I was about 23 years old. My mind was completely shattered. I mean, I was shattered. This is when the wound from that childhood abuse really came back to surface. And it was that at that time that I needed the most help. And I couldn't go on to go see the lady I was seeing because I couldn't afford her. So to me, it's very important that we help the women get the support that they need, the type of emotional support that they need from a therapist, someone who's going to walk along with them. And I always say it has to be Christian-based therapy, because if you leave Christ out of those sessions, you're actually shortchanging that person you're trying to help, because he is the only one that can fully heal us. Don't you agree, Shannon?
Absolutely. Yes. And, I have 2 things to share in regards to what you were just saying. And I'm grateful for what you and, your program is putting together and doing in your area. But my dad used to tell me, if God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it with him. So a lot of people would just say, if God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. But they forget the fact that it's still with him, that the Lord is with you through it all. And if he's allowing these things to happen, again, it could be forming you. He's allowing it because he's with you and it's going to benefit you in some way. And the other thing I wanted to say, something that we do, so we're peer support and we're trying to help people get to where they want to go to therapy. So a lot of what we work with are those that are, they're even middle to upper class. They can afford therapy if they want, but their memories have just come back, or they're just recognizing how what they've been through in childhood has affected them. And most importantly, it's like we've been able to work with men who are very adverse for some reason to therapy, especially if they're in their 40s, 50s, even 60s. I've worked with somebody in their 70s before. And it's just been beautiful to be able to work with them and allow them to see that God truly can heal through them speaking out as well. But it is so important to get in with a Christian therapist. And I do love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you for adding that. I think we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back.
You are listening to the Carolina Catholic Media Network Sacred Heart Share-A-Thon. Operators are standing by right now to take your tax-deductible pledge. Call 1-800-857-2909. That's 1-800-857-2909, or donate online at carolinacatholicmedia.org.
Hello and welcome back to Healed and Restored. I am your host, Elza Spaedy, and today I have the pleasure of having with me my special guest, Shannon McGraw, and she is the founder of Hopeful Hearts Ministry in Texas. It's a nonprofit organization that gives a voice to survivors of abuse. I love that. I love how you describe that. It's perfect. They need a voice. My first book, Freedom Through Christ, I started the book saying that I wanted to be their voice until they found their own voices, because it's so important for you to speak for those who can't speak for themselves, but then guide them and teach them how to get their own voices, right?
Absolutely.
Because
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I know that for myself, especially if you have suffered abuse and any level as a child, your boundaries have been crossed. Mm-hmm. And for me, I didn't, in my last book, Reclaimed, I talk about how we all have a lie that we end up dealing with, and that keeps us from success, or keeps us from a good relationship, or keeps it from everything, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was, do I have a right? Do I have a right to have an opinion? Do I have a right to say yes or no? Do I have a right to have feelings? Do I have a right? Because I was so young in the very, beginning of the abuse, that boundary was crossed. I didn't get to say no. I didn't get to say how I felt. I didn't get to, I wasn't supposed to, right? Because it was a loved adult, that had taken that. And so it is, to me, it's so important. I think so many of us who've been through whatever type of abuse, that many don't feel like that there's any, comfortable or safe avenue to be able to have that voice. And I think that's why it's important to be able to talk to somebody else that has been through, it doesn't have to be the exact same abuse, but just something similar, And it's, again, I focus, when I started the nonprofit, I used to speak for a Catholic youth conference called Steubenville Youth Conferences. And I did that for a few years. And then I was speaking at a World Youth Day in Sydney, Australia. And I had just this epiphany when I was there. It's God, I know. And he gave me that Bible verse, awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. And it just kept going over and over and over my head. I didn't know where it was in the Bible. I just couldn't sleep until I wrote it down. And the next day when I opened up my Bible, it literally went to Ephesians 5:6-14, which is what that is. But if you read Ephesians 5:6-20, it's the whole verse talking about, don't let what's been done to you in the darkness keep you in the darkness, bring it into the light. And that's just what hit me, was this is for all of us to know, that we need to expose what's been done to us and not let it get, it's like having poison inside of you and you need to get it out. You need to vomit it out and be able to be clean and allow then God to fully fill you with everything he has for you. And that to me is the true essence of that healing journey and finding that thriving moment.
That's beautiful. It's so amazing that you and I talk the same way. And I found that a lot of us survivors, we do have the same language. Even in my first book, I also talk about the lies. And I have 3 big lies that I grew up believing, and for me, it was God doesn't love you, because if he did, why wasn't he there? Why didn't he stop the guy from doing what he did to you? And second lie was, you should be ashamed. It was your fault. My fault? I was 8 years old. How could that be my fault? But that is the lies that the evil one plants in us. I always say we have to get to the root of the lies right away. That's why we plan on having this place where the women can come, and hopefully we can get through to them right after they've been abused. So those lies don't take root. Because in me, they had a long time to take root, right? And you too, if it happened early on in your childhood. So we grew up believing these lies. So it takes even longer for us to get past them. But nothing's impossible with God. I mean, look at you. Look at what God is doing through you, and it's just so amazing to me that it doesn't matter how long, it doesn't matter what happened. He wants to heal each one of us. That is the truth that we need to believe in, and then do what's necessary. Look for that person that could help you. Look for the right help. If you haven't seen a therapist yet, it's okay. Start tomorrow. Go look for someone. Ask your priest. Ask a family member. Ask someone for a referral. Do you know someone in my area who I can trust, who's maybe Catholic based, Christian based? Make sure it is Christian based. That's what I always like to stress to everyone that comes to me for any help, opinion, questions, anything. Just make sure it's someone who is bringing Jesus into those sessions. Because if not, you're going to hit a wall. There's going to be a time that there's only so much this person can do for you. You know what I mean? Because the rest, you need Jesus for the rest of it, for the rest of the journey, Yeah. But before we move on to the next question, there's no way I'm not going to ask you my favorite question, because you obviously have had an amazing life, and you probably have had a lot of really good people that helped you, that mentored you. I mean, I've learned that we can't do anything on our own. And we're not supposed to. We're supposed to ask for help. We're supposed to allow people to help us. So I truly believe in spiritual mentorship. I believe that we're actually in a season of our lives in the world right now that we could definitely use more of that, where we could be helping each other become a better version of themselves, or help each other find out and what it is that God made you for. Because then when you find that out, you can really thrive. So the question is, what was the best advice or the best wisdom that someone has given to you in your life?
And you had kind of prepared me for this, and I had to really think, because I have so many. I
bet you do.
I've learned from a lot of great people, and I think that's one thing we all need to know, is that we are here to learn from one another. And if you start thinking that you just know it all, you might need to sit down and have a moment, right?
Yes.
But there's 2 that really just immediately stuck out. And I thought, okay, I mean, that's just what I have to go for. The first one is that no one is going to fight for you as much as you'll fight for yourself.
I like that.
So God will. I mean, this has nothing to do with our relationship with God. It does. But what I'm saying is you can't expect someone else to get you to that therapist. You can't expect someone else to do the hard work of going through the pain. You can't to be able to get to the other side. You can't expect someone else to know exactly what you need or what you're feeling or, because they have not lived through what you have lived through. You, Elsa, and I could have gone through the very, very, very same type of abuse, but yet because of my family, my upbringing, and everything else, I very well could have received it and it hit me differently than maybe it hit you. And so you're struggling with your own things, right? Your own lies, and I'm doing mine. And so I recognized, and I had a therapist that's who told me that is, you need to start fighting for you. Nobody else is going to fight for you the way that you can fight for yourself. Mm-hmm. And that really hit me. And that's a big deal for me with the ministry. I'll have people call, a husband call for his wife, or, a parent call for their child. And I don't work with young children. They have to be 18 or older for me. But, and I always say, I'm more than happy to speak with you, as the person also having to work. I mean, because they need help too, probably in therapy too, if you have a loved one that's been through abuse. Sure. And I think you and I understand that. But I need the person themselves to come to me and to say, I'm ready. Because it's almost like any 12-step program or anything like that. You have to be ready and willing. And I have a lot of people that might come to me or be brought to me by a parent or something. And if they start talking, they just can't, they don't want to go through it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to deal with it. Well, then they're not ready. Mm-hmm. They're not ready. And it doesn't mean to be harsh. It's just, you have to know that, you have to go through the pain you have to acknowledge the pain that's been done to you in order to forgive. Yes. It's not something that you just put aside and go, oh, well, and we're used to learning that, like, okay, I'm forgiven. It's forgiven. I'm going to put it aside. That doesn't get you anywhere. So if you are ready and you want to be truly free and thrive, it's about fighting for yourself and being your voice and saying, this is who I am, and learning to love yourself. And that's the key, is loving yourself enough to fight for yourself. The other one is fake it till you make it. And I know that sounds trite and some might not agree with me, but I think there were so many times where the lies were so strong, I hadn't quite gotten over them yet, but I knew I was fighting for myself. So I knew the only way I could succeed at this, or feel like I was any good at speaking, or feel like I was worthy enough of being in front of a group or whatever, was to say, I got to fake this until I make it. I don't even know if I feel like I'm good enough to be here, but you know what, for whatever reason, they invited me. So I'm here and I'm going to do this. And it's true. If God gave you the opportunity, push through, do the best you can, and he will bring you up into what you are and what you need to be.
I love that. I love those two that you share. That's why I love asking that question, because everybody has something else to share. And it's always some amazing wisdom, Yes, I believe both of those are so true. First of all, we do have to fight for ourselves, and no one else can fight these battles for us, especially not these type of battles. Okay. I hate being on the phone with the customer service complaining about something that was done. My husband gets that side. He fixes the problem. Every time there's something like that going on that I need to call customer service, I'm like, honey, can you do it? I can't stand that. I just can't do it. But that's an easy battle that he can fight for me. But other stuff, I have to fight for my own. I can't, you can't expect someone else, first of all, to know the size of your battle, because no one can see inside of your heart and your mind and your soul besides God, right? So no one knows really the amount of your pain. And because of that, it's hard for them to fight those battles for us. We have to fight them on our own. And I believe that. And I love that you share that, because I think that's very important for victims that want to become survivors. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you want to be a victim for the rest of your life, it's easy. Just sit and dwell on that and never look for help. That's exactly where the evil wants you. I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but that is the truth. He wants you stuck there as a victim. But God does not desire that for any of his children. He wants to take us from that bottom, that really bad, nasty, dark place that we were put in for different reasons, for stuff that we did or stuff that others did to us. He wants to take us from that and basically give us a new life, a fresh beginning. But to get there, we have to work. And if you think that you can skip that phase of working to get to the other side, then you're just pretty much doing the band-aid type of treatment. It's not something that's going to be sustainable. And I think that enough is enough, right? I mean, we want people to be truly healed, to be truly free from these demons, from these terrible things that kind of stick to us after these deep traumas, right? Don't you agree?
Oh, yes. I mean, and to me, it is so important, again, of that speaking out and finding good spiritual advice too. We talk a lot about therapy, but I know for me, getting in with a spiritual mentor, a spiritual advisor was so important, especially if any, like for instance, one of your lies was the fact of, why is God even love me? And why did God allow this to happen? And there's so many that go through that. And that's just the enemy, working on you. And I don't ever like to give the enemy any kind of clout, but again, when I say the fight, a good fight, fight that good fight, it's like stand up for yourself. Don't let God is not a God of any kind of chaos or confusion or these lies that, keep tripping us up and all of that. He is, he wants to bring peace into your life. He is full of mercy and grace. And so if you start feeling any of that other stuff, like you said, it can be attached, unbound it in Jesus' name. Like you're getting rid of that. You're fighting for yourself. You are fighting for yourself, and God will give you that grace and that peace. And the freedom comes in surviving and thriving.
Thank you. Amen. Yeah. I mean, I think when you're in the thick of it, and if you are someone who's listening to us right now and you haven't looked for help, or maybe you haven't even told anyone, I was blown away after my testimony at church, how so many people came up to me and whispered in my ear that something had happened to them when they were kids. And it really stayed with me that someone told me they hadn't even told their spouse, and they had been married for over 30 years. It broke my heart. It still does. When I think about that, I pray that that person has found the strength and the courage to open up to their spouse, to open up to their priest, to open up to someone they can trust. Because again, it's like a cancer. You're carrying that with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
Right.
Because
sorry.
The enemy wants us to stay in the dark. Because when we're in the dark, he can manipulate us into thinking all of these lies, So you have to come out with these things. You have to share with someone, even if you just share with one person that you can trust. It's no longer in the dark. So I would highly recommend anyone who's listening to us right now. First of all, I'm very sorry for anything and everything that you've had to endure, any type of abuse. But you remember, God loves you so much, and he is a God of healing and restoration. He wants to put our broken pieces together, and when he does, he makes these beautiful masterpieces. Okay, so don't be ashamed and afraid of going back to your past and digging those roots up, because he will do amazing things with those. So go and look for help, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Amen. Well, you brought to mind, I mean, it's the whole reason why I started Hopeful Hearts Ministry. After you spoke and you had people, whispering in your ear, and I was speaking, and I was in youth ministry, and I was speaking for, Steubenville youth conferences and doing all of that before I ever thought to do the ministry. And I was sharing my story to youth because I lived a life where I was in the enemy's grasp. I lived a life that I was not proud of. I walked away from the church. I was mad at God and, didn't feel that love. And so my heart was to try to help youth not hit that point. But here all these adults started coming. I had priests, nuns, youth ministers, parents, all coming up to me sharing the fact that they related to what I'd been through, but had never shared it with anybody. And that is what led me to start Hopeful Hearts Ministry, because I call it God's ministry, because I just was like, this can't keep going. We need to educate. We need to get people out there to speak in a safe place and get them into therapy and work with other, nonprofits. And I had a woman, I was speaking for a small group that was like a pregnancy center, helping unwed mothers and that kind of thing. But I shared my story, and I had a woman 80 years old, 80, share with me about an abuse that happened as she was a teenager before she got married, has never told anybody, and shared it with me that day.
Doesn't that break your heart? Because
Yes.
you think, oh, this poor thing, she's been carrying this in her heart. It's been taking roots all these years, and all the lies that comes from that, from letting that, it's a wound that needs to be healed. And the first part of being able to heal, it's be able to talk about it, to bring it out to the light of Christ. So yeah, it's funny you say that was part of what brought you to start your ministry. What brought me to start the nonprofit 2 years ago was basically the pandemic. I'm sitting at home those 7 weeks, and God just took me to a place where I couldn't deny how blessed I was and how I could be helping other people. And he also brought to my attention how those same men and women, they haven't shared, they haven't found healing. They're already very broken. And then comes this pandemic and hits everybody in the face. And it was right then and there that God was like, I want you to do something more for victims of abuse, because with everything that's going on, this whole pandemic, everything, all the stress, those people that are already dealing with their own turmoil from trauma, now they're gonna add this other layer of stress, and they need help. And it was just like a light bulb went off. And I just knew God was calling me for this special mission of Healed and Restored, the nonprofit, and there was no way I could say no. How can I? I'm one of the lucky ones. I've been blessed. I've been married to my husband for 21 years. We have 3 beautiful children. We lack nothing. And here I was sitting in my very comfortable home and thinking, oh my gosh, all of these people that are now stuck in their home, going through a loss of a job, all of this and all of that. But they also had these other trauma they haven't worked on. Yeah. And my heart just started breaking for them. And that's when I could see it clearly. I'm like, okay, Lord, you show me where do you want me to go or what you want me to do, because I have no idea. And little by little, he was showing me. And you talked about spiritual direction and spiritual mentorship. My priest, Father John Putnam, has been an amazing supporter. He's the one that, with his wisdom, realized about 6 years ago when I opened up to him about the abuse. And I told him that I was still mad at God after all these years, that I still had a lot going on in my head that I knew I had to get past so I could become the best version of myself, And he invited me on this amazing healing journey that took over 6 weeks. That it was, for me, it was a complete transformation. I knew God had healed me through that healing journey that I did with Father Putnam. And I knew he had made me into a survivor with a purpose. I feel like you got there yourself too. You're a survivor with a purpose. Our purpose is to allow God to use us and our stories to help other men and women see that healing is possible for everybody. We're not special children of God. We're all special. You know what I mean? He doesn't say, I'm going to heal her and not her. No way. I don't believe that. I think that a lot of times we build a wall and we don't let him in all the way. And he can't really heal us from the outside looking in. Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely makes sense. And I lived it too. And might sound a little odd and some may not agree with me, but I know that, I had a conversion moment. I was in my late 20s. I was hating life. I was not happy with God. I started to question, which I think in some ways is great for your faith. I mean, I really started digging into, is Jesus real? Is God real? Like I did all of that. And, what is faith? Everybody says have faith. And, and some of you listening might feel like you relate to that. Like we're telling you God will get you through it, but yet you're still feeling that oppression, from what the abuse has done to you. And it can feel so suffocating and you don't understand it. And again, it's just, to me, it's like I had in many times of my life, I would pray for the will to want to pray to be able to get somewhere, right? If that makes any sense. If you don't know how to pray, then just pray for the will to want to pray.
Yes.
But in that moment of that conversion, I could see the ugly of myself, that ugly of what had happened. And I was dealing with my young children at the time, and I just stopped. I was like, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to live this life this way anymore. And I just laid face down flat on my gross carpet at the time and said, God, and it's funny, you said this when you introduced me, and I was like, did she read my book? But I said, God, if you have something for my life, take it and do something with it, because I don't want to live this life anymore. And it wasn't that I was going to go commit suicide, or anything like. I just didn't want to live that life of that oppression and that anger and that whatever. In that moment of complete surrender, in that moment is where I met God in such a way that I could smell him, taste him, see him, feel him, like I knew him, and keep wanting to know more of him, and knew that when I got up off that floor, I never wanted to go back to a place where I could not hope to be with him for eternity one day, and to have that feeling, and don't get me wrong, that was, 28 years ago or whatever. But I have had my ups and downs, but the one constant has been that I know that God will bring me through it all. Like I know that with him, I can do it. And to be able to have that spiritual direction or that spiritual advisor to guide you through that is a huge part of that blessing. Because as you said in the very beginning of our section together, like you can't do it without God. You really, in my opinion, you can't. That's my personal opinion.
I know, I agree. And I think you're right. I think that we were made by him to come back to him, right? And that's how we come back to him. We come back to him and we give him everything. We don't keep these bad stuff and just pretend that life is fine when he already knows that it's not. But he wants us to be humble enough to come to the foot of the cross and just say, here, Lord, I can't take this anymore. Take it from me. And that's why it's so important to understand that. It's not like your pain is all of a sudden disappear and your past is going to be erased away. No, but God now is walking by your side. So everything changes. Because now you know whatever comes, he's going to be there. He's going to get you through it because that's who he is. You know what I mean? He's not going to leave us longing. Not if we come to him. You know, he is a gentleman and he doesn't force himself on anyone. And that's what I understand now more than ever. We have to understand that he gave us this free will and he wants us to come to him out of that free will and say, heal me, Lord. Do with me as you will. Take this pain from me. Walk with me, you know, and that's why it's important for those listeners who haven't felt that strong presence that God is there next to them, to pray for that, to look for that, because he desires to give you that. You know what I mean? And again, most of the time, I think it's our own fault. We build these walls that he can't get through. He won't force himself in. So you have to pray that you can let down your guard, that you can let those walls come down so he can come in and embrace you. And with that embrace starts your healing journey. Does that make sense?
Amen.
It's a long journey, but it has to start somewhere. And I think it starts with you acknowledging, okay, maybe I've been staying away from him. Maybe I haven't looked for him enough. Maybe I haven't invited him into this place, and I need to start doing that now. But Shannon, I think our time together is coming to an end, and I can't believe it. I mean, we could talk and talk and talk. I love to have you come back again at a different time so we can continue this conversation. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to anytime, Elsa. We need to collaborate. I need to get you on our website. We have resources from all over the United States. I think it's so important. So we'll definitely be working more together.
I love that. We're in this together, right? We help each other and we inspire each other and we share our resources, because really, this is not our thing. This is God's thing. Right? We're just being used. Like St. Mother Teresa used to say, I'm just a little pencil in his hand. And I love that because it's so simple, but it's so profound. You know, who are we? We're nothing, but God is everything. And he can use us to do so much, because together we can do so much. Thank you again for being with us today. And may God continue to bless you and your family and this amazing ministry. And if people would like to know more about your ministry, where can they go?
HopefulHeartsMinistry.org.
Okay, that's
HopefulHeartsMinistry.org.
Okay, and all the information is there. I have gone on your website. It's amazing. It's very user-friendly. So yes, if anyone out there, is feeling like they might want to understand what she does better and maybe even help her, please do. We're in this together. And don't forget to give to Carolina Catholic Media. We need your support. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. God bless.
Guys,
thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies, so much. Wonderful episode of Healed and Restored. Folks, we're going to just go to a short break here on the network, and then when we come back, we have Bob Gordon with us and Ray Haywood from the Knights of Columbus. So we're going to just take a short break here. We'll be right back after this station break.
You are listening to the Carolina Catholic Media Network Sacred Heart Share-A-Thon. Operators are standing by right now to take your tax-deductible pledge. Call 1-800-857-2909. That's 1-800-857-2909. Or donate online at carolinacatholicmedia.org. We now rejoin network programming already in progress.